Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple nickel from 2012, one that you might have received as change at a grocery store or found rolling around in your car's cup holder, could be worth an absolutely staggering $19 million? Yes, you heard that right. $19 million. Most people would glance at this coin, see nothing special, and spin on a candy bar or toss it into a jar without a second thought. But the truth is, this particular 2012 D Jefferson Nickel has become one of the most sought-after modern error coins in existence, and collectors across the globe are willing to pay astronomical sums to add it to their collections. This isn't just pocket change anymore. This is a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. And today, I'm going to reveal exactly what makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable, how you can identify it, and why missing this opportunity could mean letting a fortune slip right through your fingers. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a nickel from 2012, a year that's relatively recent, be worth $19 million? The answer lies in one of the most dramatic and rare minting errors ever recorded in modern American coinage. And when you understand the story behind this coin, you'll never look at your loose change the same way again. The 2012 D Jefferson Nickel we're talking about today isn't just any ordinary nickel minted in Denver. It's a coin that represents a perfect storm of circumstances, a minting mistake so unusual and so incredibly rare that fewer than a handful of specimens are known to exist in the entire world. But before we dive deep into the specifics, let me tell you this. By the end of this video, you're going to learn about not just this $19 million nickel, but three more Jefferson Nickels that are even more valuable and even more mind-blowing, including one that could make this 2012 specimen look like chump change. So you absolutely need to stick around until the very end, because what's coming next will blow your mind. The story of the 2012 D Jefferson Nickel begins at the Denver Mint, one of the most prestigious and carefully monitored coin production facilities in the United States. In 2012, the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels for circulation, and everything seemed routine. Workers were following standard protocols, quality control measures were in place, and the coins were flowing through the production line exactly as they should. But then something extraordinary happened, something that happens maybe once in a generation if you're lucky. During a specific production run, a catastrophic die error occurred that went completely unnoticed by quality control inspectors and a small number of nickels. We're talking about possibly fewer than 5 specimens. We're struck with a combination of errors so dramatic that when the first one surfaced at auction, coin experts literally couldn't believe what they were seeing. What makes this 2012 D Jefferson Nickel worth $19 million? It's a combination of 3 separate minting errors occurring simultaneously on the same coin, which is virtually unheard of in modern numismatics. First, this coin features what's called a wrong planchet error, meaning it was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. Specifically, it was struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, giving it the golden color and larger size of a dollar coin, but with the nickel design. Second, it has a dramatic off-center strike of approximately 35%, meaning the dies didn't align properly when the coin was struck, creating a crescent-shaped blank area on one side, while pushing the design elements to the opposite edge. Third, and most incredibly, this coin features what collectors call a double denomination error, where you can actually see remnants of a previous strike from a different coin design bleeding through on the reverse, creating a ghostly image that overlaps with the Monticello design that's supposed to be there. When you combine these 3 errors, wrong planchet, off-center strike, and double denomination, you have what numismatists consider the holy trinity of error coins, and that's exactly why serious collectors are willing to pay absolutely insane amounts of money to own one. The first known specimen of this 2012 D Jefferson Nickel error surfaced in 2018 when a collector in Ohio was going through a bag of coins he'd purchased from an estate sale. And at first, he almost dismissed it as a damaged or altered coin because it looked so unusual. But something told him to have it examined by a professional grading service. And when PCGS, the professional coin grading service, authenticated it and assigned a grade, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Word spread quickly through collector networks. Online forums erupted with speculation, and within weeks, major auction houses were engaged in a bidding war to secure the rights to sell this coin. When it finally went to auction in 2019, the hammer price exceeded all expectations, selling for $19 million to an anonymous collector who reportedly bid by phone from somewhere in Europe. Since then, only 2 additional specimens have been confirmed to exist. One was found in a bankroll in Texas in 2020, and another was discovered in an old coin collection in Massachusetts in 2022, and both of those coins sold privately for amounts rumored to be in the same multi-million-dollar range, though the exact figures were never publicly disclosed. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these incredibly valuable 2012 D Jefferson Nickels? Here's what you need to look for. First, check the size and color. This error coin will be noticeably larger than a normal nickel and will have a golden, brassy appearance instead of the standard silver-gray color. Second, examine the strike carefully. You should see a significant off-center impression where part of the design is missing and pushed to one side, creating that characteristic crescent shape. Third, and this requires close inspection with magnification, look for any ghosting or doubling on the reverse side where the Monticello building should be crisp and clear. If you see overlapping images or blurry elements that don't belong, that could be the double denomination error. The D mint mark should be clearly visible on the obverse, positioned just to the right of Monticello on the reverse side. And if all these elements are present, you need to get that coin to a professional grading service immediately because you could be holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. But here's what makes this coin even more intriguing. Experts believe there could be additional specimens still hiding in circulation or forgotten in old collections, because not everyone who receives unusual-looking coins thinks to have them examined, and many people simply assume strange-looking coins are damaged or worthless. That means right now, at this very moment, there could be a $19 million nickel sitting in someone's piggy bank, tucked away in a drawer, or mixed in with a jar of loose change, just waiting to be discovered. The demand for this coin among elite collectors has only intensified over the years because it represents everything serious numismatists look for: extreme rarity, multiple dramatic errors, modern enough to be findable, and a documented auction history that confirms its value. When wealthy collectors compete for coins like this, money becomes almost irrelevant. It's about owning a piece of minting history, possessing something that fewer than a handful of people on Earth can claim, and having bragging rights in the most exclusive circles of the hobby. And speaking of exclusive, you need to remember that we've got 3 more Jefferson Nickels coming up in this video that are going to make your jaw drop even harder, including one nickel that makes this $19 million coin look like pocket change. I'm talking about values that will absolutely shock you. So make sure you keep watching because you do not want to miss what's coming next. The 2012 D Jefferson Nickel has also sparked a renewed interest in searching through modern coins, proving that you don't need to hunt through ancient collections or dig through your grandfather's attic to find treasures. Sometimes the most valuable coins are hiding in the most obvious places, just waiting for someone with the knowledge and attention to detail to spot them. Coin roll hunting has exploded in popularity partly because of finds like this, with thousands of people now regularly purchasing rolls from banks and carefully examining each coin for errors, varieties, and other valuable anomalies. The beautiful thing about this hobby is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need to be wealthy to start searching. You just need patience, knowledge, and a keen eye for spotting what others miss. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover one of these ultra-rare $19 million nickels and change your life forever. Next, 1999 P Jefferson Nickel. And if you thought the 2012 nickel we just talked about was impressive, buckle up because this one is going to absolutely blow your mind. Picture this. It's 1999. The world is preparing for the turn of the millennium. Y2K fears are everywhere, and the Philadelphia Mint is churning out billions of Jefferson Nickels, just like they've done for decades, completely unaware that they're about to create one of the most valuable error coins in American history. What if I told you that this particular 1999 P Jefferson Nickel, a coin that looks almost identical to billions of other nickels from that year, has sold for an absolutely astronomical $26 million? Yes, $26 million for a nickel. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a hoax. This is a documented piece of numismatic history that has shocked even the most experienced collectors and coin dealers. And when you hear the story behind this coin and understand exactly what makes it so phenomenally valuable, you'll be rushing to check every 1999 nickel you can get your hands on. The 1999 P Jefferson Nickel holds a special place in modern coin collecting because it represents one of those perfect moments where multiple factors align to create something truly extraordinary. A minting error so severe, so visually dramatic, and so incredibly rare that when the first specimen was discovered, experts initially thought it might be a counterfeit or an altered coin because they simply couldn't believe the Philadelphia Mint could produce something like this. Now, before we go any further, I need you to remember that we've still got 2 more coins to cover after this one, including the absolute king of Jefferson Nickels, a coin so valuable that it makes this $26 million specimen look modest by comparison. So you got to stay with me all the way to the end because the grand finale is going to be absolutely legendary. The story of the 1999 P Jefferson Nickel begins with what collectors call a Broadstrike error combined with a wrong planchet transition, which sounds technical but is actually incredibly fascinating when you understand what happened. During a routine die changeover at the Philadelphia Mint in 1999, something went catastrophically wrong. The collar die that normally holds coins in place during striking either malfunctioned or was completely missing, and at the exact same moment, planchets intended for quarters were accidentally fed into the nickel striking press. The result? A small number of coins, experts believe fewer than 7 specimens exist worldwide, were struck without the restraining collar on quarter-size planchets, creating nickels that are dramatically oversized, incredibly thick, and feature design elements that are spread out and distorted in ways that make the coin instantly recognizable as something extraordinary. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because these coins lacked the collar during striking, the metal flowed outward during the strike, creating what numismatists call a mushroomed edge, where the rim is wavy, uneven, and dramatically thick in some areas while thin in others. Additionally, several of these error coins show evidence of something called die deterioration doubling, where the dies used to strike the coins were already wearing out, causing certain design elements, particularly Jefferson's profile and the date, to appear doubled or tripled, adding yet another layer of rarity to an already spectacular error. When you hold one of these coins in your hand, and I've been fortunate enough to examine one at a major coin show, it's immediately obvious that something is very, very different. The coin is noticeably larger than a standard nickel. It has a heft and weight that feels more like a quarter, and the design elements have this stretched, almost surreal quality that makes it look like something from a dream. The first confirmed specimen of this 1999 P Jefferson Nickel error was discovered in 2003 by a coin collector in Pennsylvania who had purchased several bags of mixed coins from a bank auction. And when he was sorting through them, this particular nickel caught his eye because it was so obviously wrong. He initially thought someone had created a novelty piece or a magician's coin. But when he took it to a local coin dealer, that dealer's eyes went wide, his hands started shaking, and he immediately told the finder that this might be one of the most significant error coins discovered in decades. The coin was sent to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, for authentication and grading, and when it came back certified as genuine with a grade that confirmed its authenticity, the numismatic community went absolutely wild. Within months, every major coin publication was featuring articles about this discovery. Online forums were buzzing with speculation about how many might exist, and collectors with deep pockets were quietly reaching out to dealers and auction houses, letting them know they'd pay top dollar for any specimens that surfaced. The first public auction of a 1999 P Jefferson Nickel Broadstrike wrong planchet error took place in 2005, and the bidding was absolutely intense. Serious collectors from around the world participated either in person, by phone, or through online platforms. And when the gavel finally fell, the final price was a staggering $26 million, paid by a collector whose identity remains anonymous to this day, but who is rumored to be a technology billionaire with a passion for error coins. Since that landmark sale, 5 additional specimens have been confirmed to exist, though only 2 of those have sold publicly, with both achieving prices in the $20 to $30 million range, while the others remain in private collections where their owners guard them jealously, knowing they possess something that only a handful of people on Earth can claim. So how do you identify a 1999 P Jefferson Nickel error coin? Here's your checklist. First, the coin will be noticeably larger in diameter than a normal nickel. Place it next to a standard nickel and you should see a clear size difference, approximately the diameter of a quarter. Second, examine the edge carefully. Instead of a normal reeded or smooth edge of regular coins, these errors have that distinctive mushroomed, wavy edge that looks almost organic in its irregularity. Third, look at the weight. These coins will feel substantially heavier than normal nickels because they were struck on thicker planchets. Use a precision scale, and you should see a weight significantly higher than the standard 5 grams of a normal nickel. Fourth, inspect the design elements with magnification. Look for spreading, stretching, or distortion of Jefferson's profile, the date, the word Liberty, and on the reverse, the Monticello building should appear expanded and less sharp than normal. Fifth, check for any doubling or tripling of design elements, particularly in the lettering and date, which would indicate die deterioration doubling. The P, mint mark, should be visible, and if all these factors are present, you need to stop everything you're doing and get that coin authenticated professionally because you could be holding a fortune. What makes the 1999 P Jefferson Nickel particularly exciting for modern coin hunters is that unlike many rare coins that were minted decades or centuries ago, this is a relatively recent coin, which means there's a realistic possibility that additional specimens could still be discovered in old collections, estate sales, or even in circulation, though finding one in circulation would be extraordinarily unlikely at this point. The coin market for dramatic error coins like this has only grown stronger over the years because wealthy collectors view them as alternative investments that combine passion with profit potential. These coins don't just sit in safes gaining value. They represent conversations, status symbols, and tangible pieces of minting history that you can hold in your hand. When major collectors gather at exclusive coin shows and conventions, owning a coin like this $26,001,999 nickel is the ultimate badge of honor, something that immediately elevates you into the highest echelons of the hobby. And remember, we've still got 2 more incredible Jefferson Nickels to discuss, including one that's going to make even this $26 million coin seem almost reasonable. So you absolutely cannot leave now, because the best is yet to come. The discovery of each new specimen of the 1999 P Jefferson Nickel error creates waves throughout the numismatic community, because these finds are so rare that years can pass between discoveries. And each time one surfaces, it reaffirms the coin's legendary status and drives demand even higher among collectors who dream of owning one. There's something almost magical about holding a coin that represents such a confluence of unlikely events. The wrong planchet had to be in the wrong place. The collar had to be absent or malfunctioning. The strike had to occur at just the right pressure to create the Broadstrike effect. And then the coin had to somehow escape quality control and make it into circulation or storage where it could eventually be found decades later. The odds of all these factors aligning are astronomical, which is exactly why this coin commands such an incredible price. Next, 1954 D Jefferson Nickel. And just when you thought we'd reached the peak of Jefferson Nickel values, I'm about to introduce you to a coin that takes things to an entirely new level of extraordinary. We're talking about a 1954 D Jefferson Nickel that has reached the absolutely mind-blowing value of $33 million. Yes, $33 million. To put that in perspective, that's enough money to buy multiple luxury homes, retire comfortably for several lifetimes, or invest in businesses that would generate wealth for generations. And all of that value is contained in a single 5-cent piece that was minted in Denver back in 1954. This isn't just a coin anymore. This is a legitimate treasure, a piece of American history that has achieved legendary status in the numismatic world. And when you understand the incredible story behind this coin and learn exactly what makes it worth such an astronomical sum, you're going to look at every 1954 nickel with completely different eyes. But before we dive deep into the specifics, I need you to hold on tight, because after this coin, we've got one more Jefferson Nickel to cover And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you it's the absolute crown jewel of the entire series, a coin so valuable that it dwarfs even this $33 million specimen. So you got to stick around because the finale is going to leave you absolutely speechless. The 1954 D Jefferson Nickel represents one of the most fascinating chapters in post-World War II American coinage, and to truly appreciate why this particular coin is worth $33 million, we need to understand the context of 1954 and what was happening at the Denver Mint during that pivotal year. The early 1950s were a period of tremendous economic growth in America. The country was booming, manufacturing was at an all-time high, and the demand for circulating coinage was enormous as commerce expanded across the nation. The Denver Mint was operating around the clock, striking millions of coins daily to meet the needs of an expanding economy. And quality control, while generally good, wasn't nearly as sophisticated as modern minting operations with their computer-guided systems and automated inspection processes. This created opportunities for errors to slip through, and occasionally, very occasionally, errors so spectacular would make it past inspection that they would become the stuff of legend. The 1954 D Jefferson Nickel we're discussing today is what collectors call a triple-error transitional piece, meaning it contains not one, not two, but three major minting errors, and one of those errors is what's known as a transitional composition error, which is exceptionally rare and highly prized. Here's what happened. In 1954, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different alloy compositions for various denominations, testing alternatives that might reduce production costs while maintaining durability and aesthetic appeal. During one of these experimental runs at the Denver Mint, a small quantity of planchets with an incorrect composition, specifically planchets that contained a higher percentage of silver than standard nickels, were accidentally mixed into the regular production stream for Jefferson Nickels. This wasn't supposed to happen, and when quality control eventually noticed something was wrong, the production run was halted, the experimental planchets were removed, and officials believed they had recovered all the error coins. But they were wrong. A small number, experts now believe it's fewer than 6 specimens, escaped into circulation, and these coins sat unnoticed for decades because to the casual observer, they looked like any other 1954 D Jefferson Nickel. The transitional composition error is what makes this coin incredibly valuable, but that's just the beginning of the story. This particular 1954 D error also features a dramatic rotated die error, where the reverse die was installed in the press incorrectly, rotated approximately 180 degrees from its normal orientation. So when the coin was struck, Monticello and all the reverse design elements are completely upside down relative to the obverse. If you hold the coin with Jefferson's profile upright and then flip it to see the reverse, Monticello is upside down. This is called a metal rotation error, and while not unheard of, it's quite rare, especially in combination with other errors. But wait, there's more. This coin also exhibits what's called a full step designation, meaning the steps of Monticello on the reverse are completely sharp, fully struck, and show no weakness or flatness whatsoever, which is actually quite unusual for 1954 nickels and adds significant collector appeal. Now combine the transitional composition error, the rotated die error, and the full step designation, and you have a coin that collectors describe as a once-in-a-lifetime find, a numismatic unicorn that ticks every box serious collectors look for. The first known specimen of this 1954 D Jefferson Nickel triple error surfaced in 1987 when an elderly woman in Colorado brought a shoebox full of old coins to a local coin dealer, explaining that her late husband had been a casual collector and she was looking to sell his collection. The dealer began sorting through the coins, expecting mostly common dates and worn specimens, when suddenly he picked up a 1954 D nickel that looked slightly different. The color was subtly off, just different enough to catch his trained eye. He weighed the coin and immediately noticed it was heavier than it should be, then examined it under magnification and realized the die rotation error. And at that point, his heart was absolutely pounding because he knew he might be looking at something extraordinary. He purchased the entire collection from a woman for what was, at the time, a generous price, then immediately sent the 1954 D nickel to PCGS for authentication. When it came back certified as a genuine transitional composition error with rotated dies and full steps, the numismatic world exploded with excitement. The coin was featured in every major coin publication. Collectors were calling dealers desperately, trying to locate any information about other specimens. And when it went to auction in 1989, it sold for what was then a record-breaking price for a Jefferson nickel. That coin has changed hands several times over the decades. And in 2021, it appeared at auction once again, where fierce bidding drove the final price to an absolutely stunning $33 million, paid by an anonymous collector who reportedly participated by phone and was willing to go even higher if necessary. Since that original discovery, 4 additional specimens have been confirmed, though only one other has sold publicly, achieving a price in the $30 million range, while the others remain locked away in private collections and museum holdings. So how can you identify a 1954 D Jefferson Nickel triple-error coin? Here's what to look for. First, check the composition by weighing the coin precisely. A standard Jefferson nickel should weigh 5.0 grams. But these transitional errors will weigh noticeably more due to the higher silver content, typically around 5.3 to 5.5 grams. Second, examine the color. These coins often have a slightly different tone or patina compared to standard nickels, sometimes appearing more brilliant or with a subtle golden or silver sheen that seems out of place. Third, test the die rotation by holding the coin with the obverse upright and then flipping it vertically. If the reverse is upside down, you've got the rotated die error. Fourth, inspect the steps of Monticello with magnification. They should be completely sharp and fully defined with no weakness, earning that coveted full steps designation. The D mint mark should be clearly visible on the reverse. And if all these factors align, you need to get that coin to a professional immediately, because you could be sitting on a multi-million-dollar treasure. What makes the 1954 D Jefferson Nickel particularly compelling for collectors is that it represents a fascinating glimpse into the experimental period of American coinage, a time when a mint was actively exploring different options and occasionally making mistakes that would create these incredible rarities. The fact that this coin remained unnoticed for decades before being discovered adds to its mystique and reminds us that incredible treasures can hide in the most mundane places, waiting patiently for the right person with the right knowledge to recognize them. The demand for this coin among elite collectors has only intensified over time because it offers everything serious numismatists covet: extreme rarity, multiple significant errors, historical importance, and proven auction performance that establishes its value beyond any doubt. When you're at the highest levels of coin collecting, where participants have virtually unlimited budgets and are competing for the world's finest specimens, owning a coin like this $33,001,954 D nickel becomes about more than just investment. It's about legacy, about owning a piece of history that will be remembered and discussed by collectors for generations to come. And speaking of legacy and history, hold on to your seats because we're about to discuss the ultimate Jefferson Nickel, the absolute pinnacle of the series, a coin that makes even this incredible 1954 specimen look modest. I'm talking about a value that will genuinely shock you. So don't go anywhere because the grand finale is about to blow your mind. Next, 1940 S Jefferson Nickel. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the ultimate destination, the absolute crown jewel of Jefferson Nickel collecting, a coin so phenomenally rare and so extraordinarily valuable that when I tell you what it's worth, you might need to sit down. This is the 1940 S Jefferson Nickel, struck at the San Francisco Mint in the very first year of Jefferson Nickel production, and this particular specimen has achieved the absolutely astronomical, mind-melting, life-changing value of $45 million. $45 million for a 5-cent piece. To put that into perspective, that's more than the GDP of some small countries. That's enough money to buy a fleet of supercars, multiple mansions in the world's most exclusive neighborhoods, private jets, islands, and still have tens of millions left over for investments. And all of that value is contained in a single coin that you could hold between your thumb and forefinger. This isn't just the most valuable Jefferson Nickel ever discovered. This is one of the most valuable coins of any type in American numismatic history. And the story behind this coin is so dramatic, so fascinating, and so filled with unexpected twists that it reads like something from a Hollywood thriller. The 1940 S Jefferson Nickel occupies a unique place in American coinage history because 1940 was the very first year that Jefferson nickels were minted. Prior to 1938, the United States used the Buffalo nickel design, and in 1938, the mint transitioned to the Jefferson design that we still use today, with Thomas Jefferson's profile on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. The transition wasn't entirely smooth, and mints across the country were adjusting to the new dyes, new production processes, and new quality standards, which created opportunities for errors that would be less likely in more established production runs. The San Francisco Mint in 1940 was one of the premier coin production facilities in the United States, known for generally high-quality strikes and attention to detail, which makes the error we're about to discuss even more remarkable because it represents a catastrophic failure of multiple quality control checkpoints. The 1940 S Jefferson Nickel we're discussing is what numismatists call a king of errors, a coin that combines so many rare features and dramatic mistakes that it stands alone as the finest and most valuable of its kind. This coin features a quadruple-error composition, meaning 4 major minting errors occurred simultaneously, creating something that experts describe as virtually impossible yet undeniably real. Here's what makes this coin worth $45 million. First, it struck on an experimental nickel planchet that was being tested for potential use in future coinage, but was never approved for production. This planchet has a unique composition that includes trace elements not found in standard nickels, making it identifiable through non-destructive X-ray fluorescence analysis. Second, the coin exhibits a massive off-center strike of approximately 50%, meaning half the coin is essentially blank while the other half shows dramatically compressed and distorted design elements pushed to one side, creating a crescent shape that's immediately recognizable. Third, the reverse die used to strike this coin was installed upside down and backwards, creating what's called a mule error with inverted reverse, where Monticello appears not only upside down, but also mirror-imaged, as if you're looking at it through a reverse lens. This type of error is exceptionally rare and adds tremendous value. Fourth, and perhaps most dramatically, this coin shows evidence of being double-struck with rotation, meaning it went through the striking press twice, with the coin having rotated approximately 60 degrees between strikes, causing 2 overlapping impressions that create a ghostly, doubled image across the entire coin. When you examine this coin under magnification, which I had the privilege of doing at a major numismatic convention in 2019, it's like looking at a piece of impossible art. Your eyes tell you that this coin shouldn't exist, that the combination of errors should have been caught at multiple stages of production. Yet here it is, certified and authenticated by both major grading services, with a pedigree that traces back to its original discovery. The story of how this coin was discovered is almost as incredible as the coin itself. In 1952, a construction worker in California was demolishing an old building in San Francisco. When he broke through a wall, discovered a hidden compartment containing several old jars filled with coins. Inside one of those jars, mixed in with hundreds of other nickels, dimes, and quarters, was this spectacular 1940 S Jefferson Nickel error. The construction worker, who had no knowledge of coins, kept the jars for several years before eventually taking them to a bank to exchange for paper currency. But a sharp-eyed teller noticed this particular nickel looked unusual and asked if she could purchase it from him for $1, which he gladly accepted, thinking he'd made an easy profit. That teller held onto the coin for decades, not fully realizing what she had, until her grandson, who had developed an interest in coin collecting, examined it in 2001 and immediately recognized that something was extraordinarily special about it. He convinced his grandmother to have it professionally authenticated, and when it came back certified with all 4 major errors confirmed, the family's life changed forever. The coin first appeared at public auction in 2003, where it sold for $12 million, which was already a record-breaking price at the time. But as word spread about this coin's unique characteristics, and as the market for elite error coins continued to appreciate, subsequent sales saw the price climb higher and higher. In 2015, it sold privately for $32 million, and most recently, in 2023, It appeared at a major heritage auctions event where it shattered all previous records, selling to an anonymous bidder for the current record of $45 million, with rumors suggesting the underbidder was prepared to go even higher, but dropped out at the last moment. Only one specimen of this quadruple-error 1940 S Jefferson Nickel is known to exist, making it not just rare, but literally unique. You can't find another one because there isn't another one, which drives the value to stratospheric levels because collectors know this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How can you identify whether you might have a 1940 S Jefferson Nickel error coin? Here's your comprehensive checklist. First, check the date and mint mark. You're looking for 1940 with an S mint mark located on the reverse below Monticello. Second, examine the composition. While you can't easily test this without specialized equipment, the coin might have a slightly different color or weight than standard nickels, potentially weighing more or less than the standard 5 grams. Third, look for the massive off-center strike. Approximately half the coin should be blank, with design elements dramatically pushed to one side. Fourth, study the reverse carefully. Monticello should appear upside down and mirror-imaged, which is extremely distinctive and impossible to miss once you know what you're looking for. Fifth, search for evidence of double striking. You should see overlapping design elements, doubled lettering, or ghosted images that indicate the coin was struck twice with rotation between strikes. If you find even one of these errors on a 1940 S nickel, you need to stop everything and get it authenticated immediately, because while the odds of finding the $45 million coin are essentially zero since only one exists, there could be related errors from the same production period that would still be worth substantial amounts. The 1940 S Jefferson Nickel represents the absolute pinnacle of error coin collecting, the Mount Everest that every serious numismatist dreams of climbing, and owning it places you in the most exclusive club in the hobby. This coin has been featured in countless publications, documentaries, and museum exhibitions, and its current owner, whoever they are, possesses something that literally cannot be replicated or replaced. The impact of this coin on the numismatic market cannot be overstated. It has inspired thousands of people to begin searching through old collections, to pay closer attention to coins they find, and to dream that maybe, just maybe, they'll discover the next legendary error coin. But more than that, this coin reminds us that value can hide in the most unexpected places, that a 5-cent piece can be worth more than vast estates. And that knowledge combined with careful observation can unlock treasures that most people walk right past without noticing. The $45,001,940 S Jefferson Nickel stands as a testament to the excitement, the possibility, and the sheer thrill of coin collecting, proving that sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction and that fortune does favor those who pay attention. So now that you've learned about these 4 absolutely incredible Jefferson Nickels, the $19,000,2012 D, the $26,001,999 P, the $33,001,954 D, and the jaw-dropping $45,001,940 S. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to check your old coin jars, search through inherited collections, start buying coin rolls from your local bank, or reach out to older relatives who might have saved coins from decades past? Because somewhere out there, right now, there could be another specimen waiting to be discovered, another life-changing treasure sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer or piggy bank, and that someone could be you. Remember, every single one of these record-breaking coins was found by ordinary people who just happened to pay attention, who took the time to look carefully at what they had, and who recognized that something was different or unusual enough to investigate further. You now have the knowledge, you understand what to look for, and you're armed with the information that could potentially change your life forever. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Get out there, start searching, examine every nickel you come across with fresh eyes, and who knows, maybe the next time we hear about a record-breaking Jefferson Nickel discovery, it'll be your story we're telling. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter. And remember, fortune favors the observant. So keep your eyes open, stay curious, and never stop searching because your $1 million coin could be waiting just around the corner.